So guys, I have done quite a bit of research on this topic, and it is so interesting what I found. The hijab cannot be forced in Islam. Islam promotes freedom of choice. So let me just repeat that for everyone in the back over here. Islam is free choice. The hijab is a choice. It's a statement of devotion to your creator. It's a sign of respect. It's a sign of dignity. No one can tell you what you can and cannot wear. Not your husband, not your father, not your brother, no one.
Lily J is a new convert to Islam, but she's already learned that lying about her religion is the name of the game. She tells her large audience that Islam and the hijab are free choices. She says no man can tell women what to do. Her lies are dangerous. Lily J spits in the face of the millions of women fighting for their lives to be free of the hijab right now. Those living under true Islamic law have no choice because the hijab is not a choice. Here is the deeply disturbing truth about the hijab that Lily J should be telling all of the young women and children who follow her. Please like, comment, or criticize this video, but make sure you stay to the end. So, Lily J says Islam is free choice. Well, Islam is so free choice that if you want to leave it, you will be executed. So at its most basic level, Islam is the very definition of no choice. In Islam, a person has an awrah. It is the part of the body that must be covered up. If it's not covered up, the person is considered to be naked. The awrah is synonymous with a person's private parts. In Islam, a female's entire body and hair are part of her private parts, so they are her awrah. All Islam scholars agree that awrah must be covered up. The covering up of the female's awrah is called hijab. So in Islamic law, hijab does not just refer to the hair covering, although for this video, we will use it in that way. The scholars agree Allah commanded believing women to cover their entire body in Quran 3359, which tells women to wear the jilbab, which is basically a body covering. Also, Allah commanded females to pull their head coverings over their bodies, and this confirmed the requirement to cover the hair. Muhammad reinforced the divine command for females to cover the hair and entire body in this hadith. The general rule is the hijab is to be worn when a female shows a pubertal sign. However, in Islam, the ruling on the awrah becomes active when a child is seen as desired. This means that when she is attractive to men, it's not permissible to touch or look at the girl. This age varies amongst the different schools of Islamic jurisprudence. Some scholars say this can be from the age of 4 or 5, but definitely by 9 lunar years. Many scholars say a girl can be enjoyed at 9 lunar years, so she should not be looked at or touched. 9 lunar years are 8 years, 8 months in our years. The Malikis say it's okay to look at a 3 to 4-year-old child, but she's not to be touched. So already by that age, according to some scholars, the child's been sexualized. Sheikh Uthaymeen says when a girl is desired, because her awrah is now active, she should be covered up. So whilst the rule for hijab is puberty, as soon as a child is seen as desirable, she's not to be looked at or touched, and some scholars say she should be covered up. This can be at age 10 lunar years or younger. Because Allah commanded females to cover up their hair body means wearing a hijab is a religious obligation. There's a consensus of the scholars on this. So Lily J, unless you want to go against Allah's explicit commands and the rulings of the scholars you are commanded to accept, you have no choice but to accept that the hijab is not a choice. In Islam, religious obligations must be obeyed because Allah commanded them, and he warned that whoever does not obey his commands will go to hell. Muhammad confirms that if you do not obey what Allah commands, you will be condemned to hell. The scholars agree. Hijab is a religious obligation, so must be performed by divine law. Muhammad literally said the worst of women are those who ignore Allah's commands and do not cover up. They will burn in hell. Lily Jane only follows Islam to enter heaven, presumably. So by ignoring Islam's laws, she defeats the whole point of why she is following that religion. Allah's threat to send women to hell if they don't cover up proves hijab is not a choice. But if that doesn't convince you, in Islam, the hijab is a religious obligation. Religious obligations are part of Islamic law, and what is obligatory is to be enforced. Does that sound like a choice? The Islamic State has the power to force religious law upon its citizens, but it's not just the state that can enforce Islamic law upon its citizens. At the individual level, Muslims are commanded to enforce the good and stop evil. This means to command adherence to the laws Allah commanded and stop actions he has prohibited. Enforcing the good and stopping the evil is to prevent the spread of corruption and maintain a just Islamic society. It's the duty of every Muslim. And Muslims can enforce Allah's commands and prevent disobedience to his commands with their hand. So does this sound like people are being given a choice? Now, Lily Jane said the husband can't force you to do anything. Well, in Islam, the wife must obey her husband. It's another religious command and obligation. If she doesn't obey him, he can beat her until she does. He can beat her if she refuses intimacy or doesn't do her household duties. Because the husband is responsible for his wife, he can beat her if she doesn't perform her obligatory religious duties to Allah. This includes beating her until she prays. And because the hijab has been imposed upon females as a religious obligation, means the husband can force his wife to wear the hijab. It's literally permissible in Islamic law for a man to beat his wife if she doesn't cover up until she does. So forcing his wife to wear the hijab will be enjoining the good and prohibiting the evil. Forcing the wife to wear the hijab is a religious obligation because part of a husband's religious obligation is to make his wife obey Allah's commands. So a husband can and should force his wife to wear the hijab. The hijab is not a choice. Lily Jane said the father can't make a woman do anything. In Islam, a father is responsible for his family obeying Allah's commands. The father must ensure his family obey their religious obligations because it is enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. The father can beat his child to pray, he can beat them to learn the Quran, and he can beat his daughter to make her wear the hijab. There doesn't seem to be any dispute amongst the scholars on this. In Islam, a father can and should force his daughter to wear the hijab. So Lily J lies again. Lily J also said that the hijab is a sign of respect and sign of dignity. So why should females cover up their hair and body in Islam? Well, part of the reason was to stop free-believing females from being harassed like slave girls were. But if there are no slaves around, then this would mean the hijab isn't required. So there must be another more important reason for this. And there is. The main reason females must cover up for eternity is because they are the most severe test of temptation to men for sin. The chapter of that hadith there says women are an evil omen. In Islam, women are literally a bad omen for men. So men must beg Allah to protect him from her evil. They must beware of women because women are devils sent to tempt them into sin. This is not my opinion. The scholars literally say women must cover up to protect men from their evil. Women may lack intellect, but they are the worst of all evils who tempt men to spread corruption. She's a devil calling men to sin. She's temptation of evil. Her temptation of evil is greater than the evil of Satan. And she's not innocent in this. Apparently, according to Allah, she will try to trap men on purpose. She's a trap of Satan to corrupt men and spread sin. This is why females should stay indoors, because they are an object of shame. So, a main reason for why women must be covered up is because they are sexual temptation for men. This makes the hijab the ultimate symbol of female sexualization. Women must be forced to be covered up until they are old and undesirable because Islam teaches men to see the woman as sexual objects because her entire body is literally a private part. If the woman is uncovered, Allah will accuse her of trying to excite men, and this will make her the worst of women, and hell will await her. The scholars agree. So, in Islam, women and children seen as desirable must be hidden from the world, not out of respect, but because she's a tool of the devil, an object of shame, who tempts men to sin with her evil. She spreads corruption, so she must be covered up. If she doesn't, she will be beaten until she does. How is that for respect, Lily J? The hijab is not a choice. You need to do better research. This was Debunking Islam, and Lily Jane was just debunked.